So bringing in Adriana's higher self again. Bringing in Adriana's higher self. So what can you say about her holding on to emotions and identifying with the emotions?
Judges herself, so she judges herself when she has emotions.
Mm-hmm. What happens to the body when we judge our emotions? What can I do to our body?
We don't express it the way that we should, and so then it gets pushed back.
Mm-hmm. And what happens then? So it gets stuck then, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what happens then? Or what can?
It has to lodge itself somewhere.
Okay. So it will get stuck and lodged in the body somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then what?
And it will sit.
Okay, so it'll just stay there.
If you do something about it.
Mm-hmm. And so what happens then if it sits?
It can grow and become a weight.
Okay. So it can grow and become worse? Got a bigger emotion?
Yes, but then you can also feel it.
Like physically?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What kind of, like, what might we feel this? What are some ways that we might feel this?
A weight or
Mm-hmm.
mass of something.
Mm-hmm. Can it actually create a mass? Like a cancerous tumor?
It can be a catalyst for one.
Okay. So it doesn't actually become a mass, a tumor, but it could cause one. It could be like lead to one.
Yes.
Okay. And how about other illnesses?
Bring your immunity down.
Mm-hmm.
Because your system has to work around it.
Oh, okay. So it actually is like a block.
Yes.
Okay. So when people talk about blocks, energy blocks, this is what they're talking about then, right? Okay, yes. And so let's say that we've had a block for a while. What can we do? What can we do to unblock this? What are some ways?
It builds up like tension. So things that release your tension.
Mm-hmm.
So massage, reflexology, yoga can help.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Or changing the way that you do deal with the emotions so that any new emotions immediately go away.
Mm-hmm. So like changing our relationship with it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, so I actually have this method of actually bringing the emotion back up. So I'll bring up memories and then feel the emotion and like just keep feeling it and feeling it. And the way I view it is like releasing it, like transmuting it. So I'll bring it up, I'll feel it, and I'll feel it and feel it and feel it. And then it's almost kind of like I replace it with a newer, more positive kind of outlook then after I do that. What can you say about that?
You're bringing it up. You're bringing it to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you are feeling it more and more, it's expanding.
Mm-hmm.
And you reach that point, it sort of bursts.
Mm-hmm. You burst, and then what?
So you brought it out.
Okay, and you're releasing it?
Bursts.
You're releasing it at that point?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're calling your outlook, your altered view of it
Mm-hmm.
is going to be what falls back on you.
Oh, okay. So it is transmute. It transmutes then. So it bursts and then it's positive energy that then you absorb. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so you would absorb it back into yourself. But it'd be like what you're absorbing into your pores, not something that's going to sit there.
Okay, yeah. It'll flow.
Yes.
Okay. So I wonder, then if what you're saying is it expands and it bursts, do we need to feel it? Or can we just replace it with positive energy? So, but then do we need to bring this to the surface to
You can put new positive energies into your system that will flow.
mm-hmm.
And so you call it like a blockage, right? So say it's like right here, You're going to have your positive energies come here. It might say break through it, but it's going to be harder to do.
Okay. So
If you bring it to the surface, then it's easier to get it to burst than it is to break through something. If you're building up, you're giving it energy, and so it's going to willingly expand. If you're trying to break something, then it's going to try to defend itself.
Oh, okay. So if we just keep sending positive energy up, positive energy is going to fight back. That's what you're saying.
It's going to put up a resistance.
Like a defense.
Yes.
Because it doesn't want to break.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Is that kind of what happens with like EMDR?
Because yes, that's one way of bringing it up and out of the physical and into your, if you're bringing it out into your field instead of it being stuck in your physical.
Okay, very good. And what does bilateral stimulation have to do with that process? Just curious if you have that information. With the eye movements or tapping, what does that have to do with that process?
I started to have something and that just kind of went away. But about your own resistances and grounding yourself.
So bringing back the higher self, what can you say about using bilateral eye movements or tapping for working through your own resistance and grounding? Is that what I'm hearing?
It helps you bring up emotions that you don't want to.
Okay.
If you don't want to feel the emotion, then you are going to try to block it out. And using that method gives you something to focus on. So when you're focusing on that and the emotion, then your ability to block it is lessened.
I see. Okay. Yes. And is this similar to the REM sleep? Rapid eye movements when we sleep? Similar to that?
It isn't connected in a physical sense. It's connected in that we are familiar with the movement through REM sleep. So it feels familiar when you're doing EMDR, and it makes it feel more natural to have these emotions, because you have emotions when you're sleeping and you relive experiences while you are sleeping.
So it doesn't have the same purpose though. It doesn't.
Your eyes move like that as a natural process, but you move your eyes like that for EMDR to relax you and give you something to focus on.
Okay. So it doesn't actually.
That's why it doesn't matter if you're doing the eye movement or if you're doing tapping, because the eye movement itself is not important.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for answering that question.
It's because the eye movement can work better than the tapping, because it is, your brain networks are wired to have it be familiar.
Yes. So, but you answered my question to the extent that we don't have to do that to release an emotion. And it serves a purpose in that it helps us to give us something else to focus on and to get through our defenses. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in reference to Adriana, where does she have stuck lodged emotions in her body? Her head.
And her torso.
Okay. And if you could just scan her body, and let me know if there are any entities. Wonderful. Very good. So just these blocks that she has in her head and torso, and no other place in her body, just her head and her torso.
She still has problems with her ankle, but it's not a block.
Okay. It's something else. What's going on with the ankle?
Her blocks are gone, and her weight distribution is going to change, and then that might hold the ankle.
Okay. So there's nothing that needs to be healed specifically in the ankle.
No, it's the same thing that was there last time.
Okay. All right. Very, very good. And can I ask, are all physical illnesses originated in the emotions? Besides implants or something like that?
There are toxins and other things, but the majority would have no effect if not for our thoughts and emotions.
Okay. Yeah, so I take that as in the toxins would not stay in our body, unless we have a block. Is that what I'm hearing? Like an emotional block?
Not only emotional blocks, but because of our thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you may get the toxin and then you think about, oh, I can have this problem. And then you have the problem because you thought about it and say identified with the toxin, but it's a similar idea.
Okay.
Because then it attaches to you.
Okay. I believe that I understand that very well, and that what we think we create, and if we identify with something, we get that power, and if we stop identifying with something, we take away that power, and we can transmute that. Am I gathering that? Am I getting that? Okay. So if we basically we create with our thoughts, and if we think about something as being dangerous, then it is.
Yes. And going back to the blockages though, if you have a toxin, say, in your body and you do have multiple blockages, it's going to be harder for that toxin to escape your body as well. So it's not exactly that the blockage maybe causes it, but it makes it harder to release that.
Okay. Yes. Yes. I get that. All right. So in that case, if we get like a toxin, how can we heal that if it's not the emotion per se? Do we change our thoughts?
That has to do with the thoughts. And if you do get rid of the blockages, that makes it easier for it to be released. But you can still release it. Anyways, it just takes more effort and focus.
Okay. So to maintain our health, am I hearing that we have to work with both our emotions and our thoughts?
Yes.
And we have to be positive. So positive with our thoughts, be very clear on what we focus on and what we give ourselves power, and to redirect our thoughts when we give something power that's going to lead us to something harmful, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And even if you feel pain or discomfort, that doesn't necessarily mean not that there's an issue, but that something's wrong, that that is bad. They tell you that you have your nerves to tell you when you have a problem, and so that means that there's something that you need to change, but that isn't necessarily true. Sometimes you could have blockages and you are releasing toxins, but because of the way that your blockages are there, it can feel wrong when it really isn't.
So how do we know?
Listen to yourself and believe.
Like use our inner guidance?
Yes, but if you have built up blockages, then it's going to be harder for you to do that.
I see.
Because your blockages are going to get in the way.
To use like our heart and our heart discernment.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.